So let's talk about IT in Charlotte. And so here we've got a snapshot of this sector. Because IT is not an official industry, we've pulled all of those different smaller industries that represent the IT sector locally. And so you can see just over 50,000 people were employed in this sector in Charlotte in 2020, and that's right around the national average. And you can see again, despite the pandemic, we saw almost 3% growth in employment in this sector in 2020, and that's much higher than the national average, and that nation remained pretty stagnant in terms of growth in this sector. And if we look at the average earnings per job, you see again a good wage of just over $100,000 a year. While that is significantly less than the national average of $130,000, keep in mind a lot of these jobs tend to be in high cost of living areas, so that could account for some of that difference. And if we look at the industry detail, we can see that just under 4,500 companies employed individuals in this sector in 2020. And then here we've got a jobs multiplier, and what that tells us is that for each one of these 50,000 jobs, because of the ancillary support positions created, it actually creates an additional 3 jobs throughout the economy here locally. And so if we look and compare the IT sector here in Charlotte to the state of North Carolina, you can see growth over time. It's an industry that continues to grow, and we started to outpace the state in about 2014. However, we started to come back to the state average in 2019 or so. So we'll see how that continues to grow over time, if the growth of this sector locally continues to outpace the state, or if we come back to the state level of growth. And then if we're talking about what are the top occupations? So what are the top jobs for individuals working in this sector? We're talking about software developers. We're talking about computer systems analysts. We're talking about sales representatives of these services, so selling the software and all of the IT services that are being provided. And then we're also talking about computer user support specialists. And then if we look at the breakdown of this industry by race, age, and gender and ethnicity, what we can see is that this industry is a male-dominated industry. Just under 70% of workers in this industry are male, and again, 52% of Mecklenburg County is female. And if we look at the breakdown by age, what we can see is this industry is actually tracking pretty well with the overall demographic breakdown of Mecklenburg County. So seeing a pretty good spread across age and representing the base rate of Mecklenburg County pretty well. Now, when we go to race and ethnicity, again, we can see that white workers represent 63% of the workers in this industry. And so some overrepresentation there. Again, white individuals in Mecklenburg County are about 40 or so percent of the county as a whole. Black or African American workers represent only 16% of the workers in this industry, yet they represent over 30% of Mecklenburg County. And Asian workers represent almost 13% of this industry, yet they represent roughly 6% of Mecklenburg County. So again, some overrepresentation there. And then when we talk about Hispanic or Latino workers, we can see just under 6% of workers in this industry are Hispanic or Latino, yet roughly 11 or 12% of the county as a whole is Hispanic or Latino.